And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break. Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for a snack pack. Truly great to have you here. Looking forward to a good show tonight where we're talking Lakers, the NBA, and also, as well, we're going to be having and Inside Sports Fantasy Football coming up later in the hour. Chris Lardieri will be joining us. We'll be talking a little bit about fantasy football playoffs, some of the changes that went on here this past weekend, some of the things that we need to know, and week 17, how we will prepare for that. Coming up with some good picks for you coming up later in the show as well. But it is the Lakers Snack Pack. The NBA Cup is going on right now. So looking forward to hearing your thoughts now that the Lakers are going to no longer be the reigning NBA Cup champions. So I want to hear your thoughts on the NBA Cup process in year two. I didn't keep my attention to it. I do know Milwaukee is winning big right now over the Oklahoma City Thunder, which is to me is actually kind of surprising after especially the start that Milwaukee had earlier this season. They've been able to get out of the doldrums and be able to rise into a position where they look to be competitive in the Eastern Conference, especially after a dominant win today, gaining the NBA Cup. Giannis Antetokounmpo showing the world that he is still one of the top players in the league at this point in time, taking the title for the NBA. Looking forward to hearing the guys' thoughts on the NBA Cup. And here today to talk about what's going on is, of course, the Magic Man himself, the madman from Toronto. He did get out of Toronto traffic to talk about the end of the reign of the NBA Cup for the Los Angeles Lakers. It is Magic Man Sean Grice. I did note that Chris Lardieri will be on later in the hour to go ahead and do an Inside Sports Fantasy Football, specifically because you requested it, my friend, and not because I saw the Raiders. Moving on, the
You poor man.
yes, hey, they were free. What could I say?
Okay.
Parking,
Can't argue with that.
yeah, and I parked at a place that was actually pretty close and was cheap, but I won't say where because that's my secret and my secret alone. Yeah, if I said that
Was
out.
that was that the most boring football game you ever went to in your life, Gerald?
That's why I told you last night. That's how they lost to the Falcons. Is that the Falcons bored them to death? But need I digress on that? I will say the Lakers are no longer the NBA Cup champions. Of course, the Milwaukee Bucks are. Congratulations to them for just winning cash because it means absolutely nothing in the interim. Um, I said last year, and Joe disagrees with me, and again, yeah, that's neither here nor there. I think the Lakers put so much effort into winning this inaugural NBA Cup. It took so much out of them. Thank you, Jalen, by the way, for the compliment on the shirt. I want to ask your thoughts on this. Milwaukee, I'm very keen to see what happens, to see because they are an older team, to see how it affects them. If they struggle again, like the Lakers did last season, coming off that NBA Cup, I'm curious to see what the NBA will do about changing some of the things around the NBA Cup instead.
100%, Gerald. And to be fair, Gerald was right and Joe was wrong again because that did kind of take the wind out of the sails of the Lakers for that season. It really did.
For a
When
while, anyways, it took
yeah,
it took a while to recover until what late January, early February
hmm
before they got their mojo back. Yeah.
yeah, 100% correct. Yep, and be interesting to see what happens. And by the way, Gerald, that was a really boring game too. The Bucks and Thunder was
Not
just
even 100. It was an emphasis on defense, and you could totally tell it's an emphasis on defense because yeah, it was very unexciting product tonight.
uh-huh. I went to the dentist today at a cleaning and a filling, and that's what watching that game felt like over
Yes.
again. So it must have been a foreshadowing. I think the Bucks are due to hit a wall again, Gerald. It just
Hmm.
seems these veteran teams always do.
Hmm.
And especially given the circumstances, like you reiterated with the Lakers last year, I mean, history ends up repeating itself. And I think the Bucks are they're due to hit a wall, Gerald. They're just very fragile. And I mean fragile from a point of view, and also from just their three main players are over the age of 30 at this point, Gerald. And if any one of them suffers a lingering injury, it will lead to the Bucks hitting that wall.
Absolutely. But we'll see what happens. Again, I don't want to say for sure that it's going to happen, but I'm just keen to see how the Bucks will be over the next couple weeks. Thunder, they're young, and they'll have a chip on their shoulder from losing this NBA Cup. So I have a feeling that they're not going to suffer the same consequences that Milwaukee did, or Milwaukee may, or what we saw from the Lakers. So I don't think that Indiana even kind of just I think this really didn't look great after their NBA Cup appearance against the Lakers, and then obviously it led to the injury in Boston by Tyrese Halliburton, who never was really the same again that season. So I just they put so much effort into this. It's great as a presentation. I know that the tickets for the game were readily available. I know
Mhm.
that I could have got one very cheap if I wanted to, but I didn't want one because, again, I'm just not interested with the NBA Cup product. I never have been. They say the announced attendance 18,519. I drove by the TNM, or I drove by T-Mobile, and as far as it's concerned, you could say whatever you want. It did not look like uh, anything out there. I think that a lot of people were looking for. As again, there's a second year. You could say what you want. T-Mobile, Las Vegas, whatever they do next year to do it. I don't know if they'll bring it back to Las Vegas again. It is what it is. I think they'll probably go ahead and make it just more out of the whatever whoever has the best record, and they may just do something like that as far as a home game for them. We'll
Mhm.
see how they tweak it up and how they go ahead and change it. But yeah, I'm not big on this NBA Cup thing. The play-in thing I've warmed up to, but the NBA Cup I still have yet to do.
Yeah, it's still a little wishy washy to me as well, Gerald. A little flimsy in its presentation, like you said. The marketing and the branding of this also a little below par, like subpar, not what you're used to.
Mm.
Potentially, with especially given the NBA's predilection to really enjoy those viral moments, and I'm with you. It's a work in progress until you can establish that it can draw in an audience.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is a snack pack, everyone. It's Magic Man Sean Grice along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. The NBA Cup champions are now the Milwaukee Bucks. Maybe they'll hang a banner for it. I don't know. I don't really care. Again, I think the NBA will probably find some more tweaks into the system, but as Joe says in the chat, and he'll be on here in a second, you don't get really much from it outside of cold hard cash. I do not want an all-star thing where if you win, you get the final starts in one place.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
no,
no, that takes
mm,
away from what you earn over the course of the regular season. I don't want that at all. I know they just made official tweaks to the All Star game with this quick up for the NBA is just trying way too many things. It's not
mhm.
succeeding with everything. I think they should just go with what works, and we'll go from there. Because the problem is, I know a lot of people talk about the declining ratings because of the three ball, because of whatever you want to go ahead and adjust to it, turning off loyal fans, things of that nature, blah, blah, blah. I just don't think the product is as exciting, and I don't think that this NBA Cup really did anything outside of Oklahoma City and Milwaukee to do it any favors.
Yeah, Gerald. I mean, I think the last time the NBA All Star Game really kind of um tipped, the tipping point was the year Kobe passed, and we had the Elam score. That was the last time that All Star Game really had a tweak for a tipping point to draw in an audience. I mean, Gerald, you're right. I think they're really over analyzing the product rather than just simplifying what works. And quite honestly, I think if you had the NBA All Star game and you could add one component into it, I would add a 3-on-3 in the fourth quarter. Instead
Okay.
of 5-on-5, I would go 3-on-3.
I'd say the first one to 200 wins, and there you go.
Sure, that works too.
Yes. Again, they're not going to take it seriously. There's too much money involved as far as if they get hurt. I think people just got to be cognizant of that. It's
Mhm.
never going to go back and revert back to the old days because they don't get 30, 40, 50 million dollars a year back then like they do now. It's just
Mhm.
sense of pride. So okay, that's fine. You could put it on there. It was a different time, and I'll give you that. But
Also, Pete Rose knocking out your catcher
yeah.
for the next 3 months.
And I get Jordan was making that kind of money off the court, and I get that. I understand that. But if all these guys were making then what they're making now, would there be a change in mindset? I don't know. I'm just going to put that out there as
Oh,
far as
there definitely would be a few more business decisions being made, Gerald, for sure.
yeah. I'm just saying that. You could speculate all you want. And I know a lot of people will just hard no, they were always like that. They're always like that. Uh, like in a baseball all-star game, Pete Rose always had it out for everyone. Tell that to Ray Fosse as bowled over him, and
What
as
the
far
fuck?
yes, I mean there's certain individuals that are always going to take it seriously, and I give you that. But again, we're not dealing with the kind of money then that we are now, so it's a different lifestyle, it's a different thing. And again, I don't know if you'll ever go back to it, to the seriousness of that. And with this NBA Cup thing, again, if it's a ratings winner and it's a money winner, if it improved attendance for the arenas, if it improved eyes on the product before Christmas, which again is the always the unofficial start of the NBA calendar, fine. You did your thing, and we're going to keep on seeing it, whether we like it or not. I just don't get for because I'm already covering the NBA 365 days a year, so it really doesn't impress me all that much. I understand it's not for us; it's for casuals, so we have to look at it from that aspect. But did it do its thing? I know in the coming days we'll find out what the ratings are for the semifinals and the finals. So with that, that's obviously going to be a telling sign, especially for the advertisers, that they should keep it on going.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think they'll be up a little bit, Gerald. I mean, they plummeted so much that there has to be some kind of rebound here. There always is. Um, I'm thinking. So, what would be successful to you? Like maybe over a 1.2 for this
Mm-hmm.
NBA Cup? I think it's possible. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's probable, but I think it's possible. But this one didn't garner the semi interest that the inaugural one garnered, Gerald.
And no
So,
one was it going to. I mean, you had the inaugural plus the LA Lakers, who are
mhm.
still. I mean, our show is an example of that. Is it's one of the most marketable sports franchises on the planet. And now you come to this year and you have two small market teams, as Joe will go in and deride, to the end of time as far as how this league, and rightly so, seems to work best when it's slanted towards the major markets and not the smaller markets. But the smaller markets, they did reign supreme in the NBA Cup. Is that the thing as far as I guess how should I say something that's a note for the future? If there's a NBA Finals with I don't know, let's say a Cleveland versus Oklahoma City, or maybe Orlando versus Oklahoma City, or something like that, or Houston, or another team that doesn't have that marquee star that people just tune in to watch. If that's the case, the league could be in some signs of trouble. I mean, for us as basketball fans, it's a sign of growth. You'll have different teams, different players in there, regardless. But obviously that's not the same kind of agenda the NBA has, Magic Man.
Not at all, Gerald. And it's this is bound to happen. There there's there's a better percentage of that happening than two big markets, meaning in an NBA finals in the next 3 to 5 years. And you know what, Gerald? It almost consummated itself because at one point in time, the two best teams in the NBA were the Indiana Pacers and the San Antonio Spurs, and it seemed like they were on a collision course until, of course, the malice at the palace happened. Um, that derailed pretty much any chance the Indiana Pacers ever had of competing for a championship post Larry Bird, Gerald, and that was one topic of conversation I remember throughout the spring was what kind of ratings would the Pacers and Spurs bring in, and it's been a conversation ever since. And like you said, Gerald, at some point in time, Oklahoma City's gonna squeak through, and maybe Cleveland gets the best of Boston in the 7 game series in the semis, and they squeak through, and then all of a sudden you have a Cleveland OKC final, and how are you going to market that if you're in the NBA? We've got 800,000 Oklahoma who could barely support a basketball team, and we've got Cleveland, the mistake by the lake.
Could be worse, Magic. Could be Charlotte in the NBA Finals, as we talked about in our emails. Did you see that
Yeah.
last one I dropped in down there? Magic Man, you just won a PlayStation 5. Okay, are we off the air? All right, taking it away. That was cold on in at Christmas time for no less, my friend. Man, that's bad. Yeah, that's if you guys didn't hear the story. I guess during maybe a halftime or a first quarter or second, some timeout presentation, they gave this kid. It said they announced over the air they were giving this kid a PlayStation 5. So I guess when they cut away off the TV, they took it away from the kid. So maybe they weren't intended to give it to the kid after all, or what have you. Oh man, yeah.
Oh,
Social
Gerald,
media, yeah,
Reddit was up in arms about that.
yes. Yeah, social media took over on that, and of course they've since apologized, blah blah blah, and whatnot. So, yeah,
What are you thinking?
yeah. Well, PlayStation
Seriously.
PlayStation 5 is actually very expensive right now. So you go, okay, man. Don't die me here. Don't die me here. Uh,
Those nasty kernels.
Those nasty curls indeed. M24, before we get on to the Lakers, says, tell us the real reason why Laker Nation is advocating for the Guggenheims to take over. Is it just a money situation? No. In a sense, no, because with Jeannie, she is the owner of a franchise probably worth estimated anywhere from $5 to $10 billion right now, depending on who you talk to, Forbes or what have you. The real reason why Joe and Empire Jeff, who really are the guys that spearhead this, not Laker Nation, they should not get
Mm-mm.
credit for this. It's Joe and Empire Jeff that should get credit for this, for starting this up, because they're avid Dodger fans. And they have seen over the course of the past few years how well that organization is run. Yes, the Dodgers have not won the World Series every year, but twice, I think in 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. And being at the forefront as far as either leading the league with a best record or one of the best records each and every year. They reload, they rework, they have a management and a GM that really absolutely knows what baseball is all about. The organization knows what players on other teams to look forward to and grab and get. They know what the price point is to offer for each players on free agents. They've been hitting all the right buttons. They've been working the magic, pardon the pun, as far as part owner of that team. Magic, I want to get it to you right now. Why should the Guggenheims own the Los Angeles Lakers?
How much are the Guggenheims worth, Gerald?
Enough. Let's just put the answer. If you own the Dodgers, It's enough.
Okay, so I guess they also have the Lakers in their portfolio. I guess from that perspective, if you have the Dodgers in the Guggenheim portfolio and you put the Lakers there, you would think that there'd be an indirect or direct correlation between success. Maybe I'm 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 not so sure, Gerald. I'm a cautious pessimist when it comes to throwing out potential owners for the Lakers because we do know in the past Dr. Buss has said that he has been offered absurd amounts of money
And
to
Bloodhound's
purchase.
saying she's answerable to five siblings. This is true, but she's also the one with the biggest share. So if
But
the
if it,
Guggenheims, if the
but
well, the Guggenheims want to come by it and say, you know what, I'm here, I'm waiting because they have the first,
well,
as Joe said, they have the first right to get an offer. They have the first right of refusal when it comes to buying the Lakers. You know, eh, at this point, she could talk the buses. The one thing they would love, as far as they're concerned, I'm assuming, is a good deal for the Lakers if it should come across. If it just becomes too stressful, if the organization just becomes too flat, if the future for the organization just looks too grim, I have a feeling those calls within the Bus family for a sale might become louder and louder. Magic Man.
sure, Gerald. I mean, we all live on planet Earth. Costs a lot to live on this planet, particularly in Los Angeles. And when you look at the bus trust overall, Gerald, when Dr. Bus passed away, a lot of his portfolio was also sold off, or it became I'm trying to find the correct word, Gerald. Invalid, because Dr. Bus had a lot of money in real estate, Gerald. He was also there was also, I'm not sure if it's true or not, but there was also he has money in pharmaceuticals as well from his time as in science as a doctor. So he had a wide portfolio, and the Bus
They also still
family
have
today.
real estate,
Okay,
various
but
real
not
estate
but
investments.
not much, not
Mhm.
much, Gerald. If you look at their portfolio, it's very small
Well, they did sell some
outside
of
of
it
the
off. They did
Lakers.
the story, of course. Yes, they did sell quite a bit of it off. In acquiring the Lakers, I get that. I understand it, but the team in and of itself is worth a lot of money. She is
So,
worth a lot
Gerald,
of money.
let's get down to brass tacks then,
Hmm.
because we've never really done that on the show, even with the Soro on here. So, Dr. Bus did say that he was offered absurd amounts of money for the Lakers.
Hmm.
So, Gerald, if you had known that information, you would have a discussion with your children about what you thought the the price, the right
True,
price would be.
but
So what?
just like we talked about earlier, as far as the previous day, where where the players all were serious about the All Star game, had they been offered that type of money at that time, maybe things would have been different. These days and ages, with the advent of the way the world works in 2024 is different from when Dr. Buss reigned. And the old ways of doing things are not always practiced here on out. And again, if this organization goes downhill after LeBron AD era, those calls will get louder and louder. If we go through another period like we did in the last decade when she first acquired the team, and the team is considerably less organized. You can go ahead and make the general firings of Rob Pelinka, JJ Redick, whatever, and get new people in there. If it does not fix itself, those calls will come louder and louder and louder, Bloodhound. And again, once those calls, public calls will be out there, the buses will talk amongst themselves. I've observed them for years, and Bloodhound, they will sell if public pressure becomes too much.
So you truly believe, Gerald, that the genie herself requires a lot of external validation
Mm-hmm.
from the Los Angeles public.
Mm-hmm. So the
Okay.
Lakers, because the Lakers, you know how the Lakers and the Dodgers are revered in Southern California area. You
Yes.
would I lived there for 25 years, so I know how they were revered, and still to this day, in some ways, we're still revered. The Dodgers are now, you probably have to say, because they won the World Championship, they are the number one right now. They are the big boys on the block in the Los Angeles area. And, the Lakers are still a very strong entity in and of itself. Now, you could argue whether or not they're still number one. I'll let you go ahead and guys decide upon that. But right now, the Dodgers are on top of the world. And again, who is the who are the people in charge of this? So with that in mind, I'm just saying that at some point in time, it's not going to be right away. I know our calls for sell the team Genie is going to go on for quite a spell. But as she gets older, how much of this stress does she want to continue to have? Again, the buses, how much of this stress will they want to continue to have, especially the older brothers, the brothers themselves? Do they want to continue that stress, especially because of the fact that they don't have control of the actual day-to-day operations like she does? It's just a thing where you observe family, you observe how families interact with each other. And again, yes, Bloodhound, you could say all you want about that, but the Guggenheims, again, at some point in time, I may be given an offer, or they may make an offer that the buses can't refuse.
Very possible, Gerald. Very possible. There's obviously a number they have in mind. If you reach the number, I'm sure they would sell.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is a snack pack. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice, having a snack right there for you, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching this. Truly appreciate it. Again, these are just our opinions, but those are my observations. I think at some point in time, as Jeannie gets older, you could say she's going to pass along to the younger brothers or, any other siblings like that. But I think at some point in time, we have to come to the realization that they will probably cash out and be the benefactors of that. Jeremy's asking, why do we not hear from Pelinka like ever? Jeremy, when you were calling for his head, proverbially, as far as him being fired on a daily basis here on not just our show, but on a lot of other shows, complaining about the job he's doing. You even got Laker Tom at 80 plus now on his Twitter going crazy about Pelinka, fire Pelinka, fire Pelinka. Why would he want to show up? He's not the type of individual to show up at the wrong time. He is there when times are good, Sean. He is there when times are good.
Absolutely, Gerald. And yeah, you have to give him his flowers for this. For all of Jeannie's, as Gerald and Joe and others have noted, for all her need
Those snacks are really hitting you hard on the snack pack here, man.
for for all her neediness as far as external validation goes, Gerald.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, Rob Pelinka is able to deflect that off of himself.
Okay.
If we're talking about responsibility and accountability here,
How much is that of the Kobe factor in your eyes?
I don't think it matters as much as people think, Gerald.
Anymore? Okay. I think it did at one time, man. I think it did.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think at one point it did. Yeah. Now I think it's obviously Rob has established his own relationship with Jeannie, and it looks like it's more of Gerald. Like honestly, how much influence do you really think that the Ramby have here? Because it would seem they have more influence on Jeannie than Pelinka would.
Well, again, I go back to what happened last year. I think the person that has the most influence over the organization is number 23 in the Los Angeles Lakers
Mm-hmm.
and his team behind him. That's, I think, the number one right there. I just don't think that there's anybody that has more influence on the organization and control over their situation
Right,
than
right,
LeBron James.
right, Gerald. But we
But
have
how
to
much do the Ramby up on top? I think they have some influence, but
because she's known them for
yeah.
Kurt Rambis was 84.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking almost 40 years here,
when
Gerald.
he was a washout with the New York Knicks.
And from the Greek league as well.
Mm-hmm.
40 years is a long time to be friends, Gerald. All I'm saying is, I think.
You gonna die me? Don't die me, man.
No.
No sir.
I think the Rambi have more influence on her than Pelinka does.
Okay. All right. Well, if you need to step out for a second or two, let me know because I'll go ahead and get you off the air here. So, but you're taking that chug of water, and I'll go ahead and speak for a few minutes here. But it is, of course, the Lakers fast break. Truly appreciate you joining us here. Jeremy says there is no way the Rambi have more influence than number 23. I think that's correct, Jeremy. I think there's no one in this organization that has more influence with LeBron than LeBron James. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens after the LeBron James era ends. But I don't know when that is. No, I don't have any definitive time. Is he going to retire? Was he reflecting on his time off? How long he's going to be around, we don't know, but I'm definitely looking forward to finding out. But yes, it is, of course, the Lakers fast break. I am here along with Magic Man Sean Grice, heading to snacks right here on the snack packs. Looking forward to it. Yes, that's milk right there. Is that the flu season, Sean? You good? Jay
No,
White
no,
goes
no, no. That's vanilla chai.
vanilla chai. Okay, let that vanilla chai soothe down the throat because of all those snacks you eat, man. I don't want you dying on me, man. So, with that in mind, I want to ask you this, if you're able to. Want to ask you this: the Lakers, in 2 days, they go up to Sacramento. They play that like I know you're talking with Joe at various points last night about it. You called and you said called it as far as the Lakers winning the back end in your mind and not the front end. I have them because they'll be fresher winning on the front end instead of the back end. Interesting how that we're both thinking that. Magic Man is currently dieting. Yeah, maybe that's up to him, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe he just likes chai. So there you go. But be that as it may, my friend, your thoughts.
Both are correct.
Okay. To die live on camera would be a legendary feat. No, not that. We don't want Magic Man to die live on camera. No, that's not good for our business and our get channel. We want him. We just got him back. The last thing we want him to do is to leave us. There you go, Joe. Hmm. Oh no, I'm sorry. That would be terrible. Yes. But be that as it may, Sean, with 2 games up coming up right here, um, your thoughts. Do you think the Lakers have the possibility? Even Joe said he's been on the. He was like, "Oh man, are you going to be okay?"
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Okay, all right. Joe even said changed his mind from possibly saying no way that they were going to win anything in Sacramento to thinking they might actually pull something off. So your thoughts on what the Lakers can do in Sacramento to at least get a split in that.
Don't
Yep. So what are your thoughts on Sacramento?
don't start, don't start slow on Thursday.
Okay. Don't start slow. I agree with you on that. Obviously, set the tone right away. Jeremy, he said he was on his way, so that's all I could tell you. So, yeah, hopefully Joe will be here in a little bit. But Magic Man, obviously, they've had some troubles as well. They've had some very much up and downs as far as Sacramento is concerned. A team that could be in a lot of trouble if the Lakers come in there and sweep because they're obviously a team that's in a similar situation than them. Yep. Keep on drinking that vanilla chai, my friend. All right, no worries on that because I can go ahead and speak for you, my friend. I just when I see what happens with the Lakers and going up into Sacramento, I think there's a possibility they will split. I think there's a possibility they can actually win both because again, when it comes right down to it, Sacramento is kind of in a little bit of disarray. Which is the Sacramento team that will face? I'm not sure. They play well at home, but again, if the Lakers get the kind of effort that we saw on Sunday, who knows, my friend? Who knows? Jeremy, they play in U.S. They play on Thursday night and Saturday night in Sacramento.
It's hard to say one way or the other, Gerald,
Mm-hmm.
because the Kings are the typical Jekyll and Hyde team of
Mm-hmm.
the NBA so far. They could score 145 points and blow you right out of the barn, or they could show up and score 87 points and not even break a sweat.
Okay. Man, so I'm rooting for you, man. I'm rooting for you. I'm hoping
It's
you'll
those
get the.
it's those kernels, man. It's those kernels.
Okay. I'm just rooting for you. I'm hoping you'll stay with me throughout this thing, man, because I know that you wanted to talk to Chris, which I'll bring on
I'm
here in a few
fine. It's
minutes.
just the kernels working their
Those
way
those
down.
dang kernels, yes, those dang kernels, absolutely. Something happens to Sean, I'll have to go attend his funeral, and on his gravestone says, "Those damn kernels," right there. For I'm kidding you, my friend. I'm kidding you.
No, we should
Uh,
put that on a T-shirt. Actually.
there you go, right behind "Shut Up, Joe," and I'm in the results business. There you go.
Oh,
Uh,
what the? I want to see a picture of your wife. Didn't make the podium anymore.
that's still up there. That's still up there. And Doobie says, "I hate Ham and wins and losses." There you go. But speaking of Ham, congratulations to him again, assistant coach. Teammate Rayshawn Rondo as a advisor to the team.
So
For
Darvin
the
Ham is the only back-to-back NBA Cup champion.
no, that would be
Congratulations,
Tayshaun Prince. Not Tayshaun Prince. Oh, yeah. Prince.
Torian
Prince is
Prince.
Torian Prince. Yes,
Torian
Torian
Prince.
Prince.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. All right, the two of them. Oh, well, they've been together so long, Gerald. Might as well.
Yes. Might as well be yes. So congratulations to both Prince and Ham on their victory tonight
I'm
over
sure.
Oklahoma
I'm
City.
sure Damian Lillard will be enthralled with being an NBA Cup champion rather than an actual NBA champion.
Well, they like the paycheck that goes along with it, my friend. So that's extra cash in their pockets, and definitely looking forward to seeing how it affects them. Again, they are an older team. Brooke Lopez, Giannis is above 30 now. Torian Prince
Well,
above
let's
30.
say
Yes, and Damian Lillard. So,
let's play a game here, Gerald. Right
mhm.
now, if the Milwaukee Bucks play in a playoff series against Cleveland, who would you favor?
Oh, Cleveland without a doubt. Yeah, that's not even a go there. Milwaukee, from right now is probably about the fifth or sixth team right now
So
for me in the Eastern
maybe
Conference.
who would you favor with them in Orlando?
If both are healthy, I would pick Orlando.
Okay, and the Knicks
Orlando has a lot of size to match up with Giannis.
and the Knicks as well. They have the size as well to counteract
Yes.
Lopez, and so I mean the Bucks are, like you said, Gerald. I would put them as if like the fifth, sixth best team in the East right now.
As far as the answer to your question on Torian Prince is playing on the Bucks, captured to the Lakers. Again, he's playing like Torian Prince. He's getting you 7 points a game, shooting around 40% from 3-point area. Actually, he's actually shooting 51% from three. So that's really good. But
His
yeah,
minutes per game, what are they at? 24?
something in that. And I know he's in the starting lineup for them, but again, it is what it is. Prince is probably better as a reserve, but when you have to start him, that they've been doing well with him. For how long, I'm not sure. But again, he's not going to be a starter long term. But also here today, also providing some snacks is a good man indeed. He is, of course, the man behind Simblades with Y.com. Also, the game he's helping to finance and bring a dream come true for a very hardworking individual. It's Corrupt, Coreupt on Steam. And of course, Oxide 247 at LakersBall.com. It is Joe Soro. See, Jeremy, I told you he would be here. It is Joe Soro. Joe, the NBA Cup is at an end. We were just finishing up a conversation on what the Lakers in Sacramento, which you already talked about, but NBA Cup has ended. Milwaukee Bucks, an older team, fighting for every bit with an impressive victory over Oklahoma City. Your thoughts? Do you think it will affect them long term? Do you really care? And this NBA Cup idea in its second year seems to have kind of fizzled out for a lot of people, including us here on the show.
I don't know. They signed a $76 billion TV deal. Maybe they know something we don't.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know. I don't know how you can have a regional contract issue and then still sign a $76 billion deal. And then somehow they coaxed the TNT crew to go to that use toilet water of a ABC Disney. I think everything is rigged. I think we think it's rigged by the game. I think the TV contracts and the money being made is rigged. I don't think it matters whether people are watching or not anymore. I can't explain how it all works, honestly. I'd have to be in it to. I mean, I can give you some guesses that can say that they're getting maybe enough in advertisement where it doesn't matter. It doesn't make any sense to me, really. I knew that they didn't need fans at the games, but not having people watching it too. Okay. I really don't know. I really don't know how the hell they're doing this. The game tonight almost put me to sleep. I talked to Sean about it while we were talking. I said, this game is boring.
Kind of like the Raiders game was for me late yesterday at Allegiant Stadium.
Well, the problem with the Raiders and the Falcons is they're not playing for anything, and they don't have quarterbacks. At least this last week they didn't. We'll see what happened to. We'll see what happens. We'll see what Atlanta does with Penix. See if he's going to be the next great thing. But I don't know. The NFL this year has been a bore as well. I thought the Thursday night games, I think up until that Green Bay game, I think what was it last week? Was it? Every game seemed to be a crappy game.
How many Sunday night games have been competitive? I count one.
Even those games have been bad. Monday night games have been bad. There was a time where they were able to schedule really good games on those nights, but they're not. I think the league.
Well, I think the league heard you, Joe, because they rescheduled 3 games for this weekend.
Well, they do that late in the year, anyways. They don't do it. There's a reason why records from earlier make a difference. That's what they usually do. But because it's such a Jekyll and Hyde league now, because of the socialistic parity of the NFL, a team can be really, really good a year before and then suck ass the next year. And that's why that becomes an issue. But the NFL ratings keep going up, and that'll probably never change either. I think people love football too much.
So with that, it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. Truly glad to have you here. I have both Magic Man Sean Grice and Joe Soro, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching this. Truly appreciate it. Remember, the Lakers are going to be on Thursday. Go ahead and check it out with us on playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. I'll have it all geared up for you guys. And afterwards, of course, the post game on Thursday and then also Saturday as well. No better post game in town or on the internet than right here at the Lakers Fast Break. So with that, Sean, I'll finish up our Lakers conversation before Chris Lardieri comes on the air. Wanted to ask your thoughts on this. Again, you guys were talking about at length regarding Sacramento, but beyond Sacramento, as it gets closer to Golden State at Christmas and the rest of the year, what do you think the Lakers need to focus on to close out this year? I'm not going to say strong. I'm just going to say with a winning record at this point in time. How about I do that?
If I was JJ Redick, I would stick with what works, and what worked last game is somehow, some way, inserting Max Christie in the starting lineup gave you a +10 at the end of the first quarter, and you ended up squeaking out a win against a really good team. Shouldn't have been as close as it was, but that being said, Gerald, he's got to stick with this. It worked for him in Memphis, and he said it worked. He said they stuck within the discipline of the game plan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really important. Obviously, he wants them to play the way he wants them to play with Christie in the starting lineup. It paid dividends in one game. He should continue it until it doesn't.
I'll tell you what, again, I'm just hoping that the Lakers can finish out the year, Joe. Yeah, above 500 record, and I think that should be right now the standard what the Lakers should go by, because right now it's been It's been pretty hard to watch until Sunday. So your thoughts? I mean, do you think they'll finish out the year by the time 2025 rolls over? Do you think they'll still be in the top 10 in the Western Conference?
Probably. I don't know if anybody's really focused right now and playing next level ball. I think the Lakers have enough to probably just kind of sustain a 500 record the rest of the year. But that'll depend on how they fare here in the next few games. If they split Sacramento, I'd say it's pretty good that they will. If they lose both games, then they'll probably be under. And I don't know what LeBron's going to do in terms of his sabbaticals. His latest sabbatical, from my interpretation, was, to put it lightly, I think it was a tantrum from maybe JJ telling him you're going to sit. He didn't like it, and he said, "I'm out," which would add more to the issues with LeBron as a fan base. Maybe not in a drastic way, but just the kind of continuous immaturity of LeBron James. If he really wanted to play all the 2 games, I do commend him for that. I think that's a great way to look at it, because you're participating, and I get it. But to handle it, if that was what happened, then the way he did is not going to show any leadership in any way. And I've had this discussion enough to just kind of get tired of talking about it. I talked about this in other sports. It's not just a LeBron James Laker thing. There's very few people that are real leaders in general in sports. People who think they're leaders get that tag when it's not warranted. There's very few that actually lead, let's say, by a voice, and then there's a lot that lead by an example and voice, and then many by example. Leading by example, I don't really consider leadership either, to some degree. It's like, okay, well, you're doing what you're doing anyways. I don't know necessarily if that's always going to be something that is followed. I think maybe admired, maybe respected, but I think when you look at someone like Magic Johnson, when you look at someone like a Derek Fisher, I always think of those two when it comes to the Lakers in terms of the leadership of championship eras. Probably Paul Gasol to a degree, but not really. Where Lamar Odom, you could put Lamar Odom there. You get this kind of verbal kind of thing where they can talk to everybody. I think that helps. I don't have a feeling on the Lakers at all, really, anymore. We will come out aggressive. We'll come out with our critiques, but we're going to have to play this out, see how it works. I'll still stay on the fact that I think this should be LeBron's last year, but it doesn't look like there's any sign of him retiring, which means he's likely going to play again after this season's over, because he's going to want to likely go out with the adulation of having a retirement year. And that's unfortunate, because I don't think the Lakers are going to get out of this rut if he doesn't retire this year. And that's going to be a tough situation. We're going to be right back here a year from now complaining about pretty much the same thing. Even if they throw in a couple good players here and there, it's not going to make a difference. This team is just not constructed well. You're not able to even bring in someone like, look what happened to Hart. Look at Hartenstein. Okay, the Oklahoma City Thunder picked him up, right? And they already had somewhat of a stacked team. See, Presti had them ready to kind of continue to improve. They went and got, granted they traded Giddey, but you got to trade something to get something, right? So they trade Giddey to get Caruso, and those players, when Chet gets back, are going to all be an enhancement and give the Oklahoma City Thunder a legitimate shot at possibly getting to the finals. Don't let tonight kind of sway you from that. Chet plays a huge part in winning because he's such a great defender. So once he's back, especially in today's NBA, if you can play defense, especially at that position, you are going to be a problem in the playoffs because a lot of these players like Lillard and the Milwaukee Bucks history recently is they tend to struggle when they have to kind of clamp down a little bit. When they're free and clear, of course they're very good at that. But once things start getting hard, sometimes they don't kind of meet the challenge.
The problem I had was that personal reason stuff. Okay, he left the team for personal reasons. If he said, in his when he finally came back and he said to the press that it was because of his foot and whatnot, what? Just say it's your foot, and you're going to take some time. Yeah, it wasn't.
It wasn't. That's the discussion here. Is he
I got you, Magic.
What are you doing, Joe?
I was unmuting you at the same time. So my fault. So.
Yeah, he's the thing with LeBron is I think sometimes he does want to tell the truth, but maybe
that interview today was total. That threw a crock of what all over what they're talking about between Shams and Pat McAfee.
Yes, I saw that.
What did they say?
Go ahead.
Well, yeah. Well, so Shams was Joe. The story we got was that LeBron was resting his foot at home. Now, when you hear he's resting his foot at home, where do you think home is?
LA.
Right, you would. But Shams was on air today talking with Pat McAfee saying LeBron James owns many homes in many different places, and he went to one of those homes and was resting and recuperating.
We'll let you ponder that one for a little while. So. But again, yeah, just this whole thing was just shady from the very beginning, and it wasn't clear cut. Be more transparent. I think would probably be have worked out for.
Look, you're not Mbappe. You're LeBron James. You're 39 years old, but you're not Mbappe. You're not gonna get to take a week off.
Yeah.
If you say you need a week, come on.
Again, I'm not sure if anybody's ever going to be straight with us on that, but it is, of course, the Lakers coming back on Thursday, and of course, we'll cover it for you on playback.tv.
Gerald.
Yes, sir.
Phil Jackson had no issues letting the Chicago media know that Dennis Rodman needed some time off, and he told me he was going to Vegas. So what was I going to say? Dennis, you can't go to Vegas?
Yeah.
He said he's a grown-ass man. I can't tell him to do anything. And Joe's saying, well, at times LeBron won. He could be open and truthful about it. Yeah, I was resting in Spain, or I was in Tahiti resting my foot instead of LA. But no, it's always got to be this air of mystery with LeBron too. Joe, and that's another annoying aspect of his media personality. There's always got to be this enigma or this mystery surrounding something that he's doing, or where is he, or what. You're 6'8", 270. This isn't Where's Waldo.
Well, the other thing is, this is 6'8", 260 guy who flopped most of his career. Luckily, he kind of toned it down in LA. Because I think he knew he'd get a lot of shit in LA. LeBron is a big child. And I'm not talking about Shaquille O'Neal big child, because Shaquille has a habit of being a big child as well. And he had a lot of whining moments in his career. But he didn't play like a whining child. And maybe we were able to forgive him for that. LeBron can play like a freight train, but he also flops. I never remember Shaq flopping. Shaq was actually as opposite to flopping as possible. He made guys like Dale Davis and Antonio Davis flop in real life at the same time, with Rick Smits going through the hoop at the same time.
So with that though,
I don't understand. I don't relate to. I relate to joking. I relate to an immaturity in the right setting. Believe me, I'm not trying to front there. I am a jokester with the fam and the friends, and it can definitely come off very, very immature. But I don't do that at work.
Okay.
There's a difference. I don't do that kind of stuff at work, and unfortunately, LeBron James does. And on top of that, he's a public figure, which makes it even worse. And at the same time, the Lakers are not really good, which makes it worse, even worse. If they're winning, then you're probably a little bit more forgiving. But I preferred the 2020 team to not hearing anything out of anything. I was in astonishment that whole year in that there was never anything coming out of anything from that team. It was 3/4 of the way in, and I'm like, have you guys heard anything? This is before I was on the Lakers fast break, but I was talking to friends of mine where I'm like, do you guys ever hear anything? Like, there's not a peep. This is LeBron James, and it's the Lakers, and all this stuff. I'm like, you never hear anything coming out of that place. That place is a fortress at this point. And I was excited because I'm going, man, it's a breath of fresh air where we're actually having a team that's pretty damn good, winning. And towards the end of the year, they start beating the really good teams too, which we saw kind of coming anyways. And I'm like, man, this team is fun. It's a fun team to watch. There's no drama. There's no talking. It's straight up just business. Man, I wish I could go back to that.
So with that note, it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. Truly appreciate you joining us, but we're going to be heading on over to Inside Sports Fantasy Football here in the next few seconds.
JY, he will thrive because he's got good people around him in terms of the business of LeBron James.
Yes.
But he's never going to own a sports franchise as a majority. That's never going to happen. I don't know why that keeps going, or he's going to own a team. I'm like, guys, none of these guys own a team. Not A-Rod, not Magic. None of these guys own a team. Majority owners is what matters, not some minority 3% owner. That doesn't do anything.
So with that, it is the Lakers Fast Break. Thank you again for joining us on the Snack Pack. We'll talk more about the Lakers and the NBA on Wednesday. But for now, for those in the midst of football season, we're going to be talking some football here in just for a couple of minutes. But again, if you have any questions on the Lakers, who will Rob trade for? Will he trade just to trade? What are the Lakers going to do for the rest of this year? We'll find out. But again, we'll be always answering these questions on the Lakers Fast Break. So for Sean Grice and Joe Soro, Cyril Glassford, thanks so much again for watching, listening. For those that are going to be waiting here, Inside Sports Fantasy Football is coming up next. But for those wanting more, join us tomorrow for more great basketball talk right here on the Lakers Fast Break podcast. But for now, it is Inside Sports Fantasy Football. And we're back with another episode of Inside Sports Fantasy Football. It's Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos, Lakers Fast Break, and of course the ISFF. Glad you could join us. It is in the midst of playoff season for fantasy football owners out there. I am in the midst of two of them, and I've got a fantasy football playoff question for you guys a little bit later on in this show. I want to hear your thoughts between ESPN, the way they do it, and the way Yahoo does it. So I'm ready to hear that as well. But also with me today, three great panelists for you coming right back at you. He is back once again, back from New York, where he watched the Giants. And he watched the Giants. That's okay. It could have been worse for you. Okay, you could have watched it in the Allegiant Stadium yesterday, the Raiders and the Falcons, like I did through that snooze fest. But he watched the Giants and the New Orleans Saints. It is Chris Lardieri. Chris, great to have you here, along with Magic Man Sean Grice and Joe Soro. I know that Sean wanted to ask you some questions on Giants related. I know Joe had some opinions as well, plus his Steelers, which had a tough weekend as well. Your thoughts, Chris? Great to have you back on the show, my friend, and wishing you and the family the happiest of holidays.
Thanks. Same to all of you and everyone out there. Sean, great to see you again. So, Gerald, we left for the Meadowlands from our hotel, and the map said 20 minutes, and I thought I was seeing things because it was about 19 miles. And I've never pulled into the parking lot so easily, parked so close to the stadium, got to our seats so quickly, although there was a little bit of a detour, but that's another story for another time, just to see some bad football. But we went downstairs towards the end when the Giants were driving and they couldn't convert on fourth down. And I sent you that picture that Dom took from about maybe 10 rows up from the 10-yard line of neighbors standing there pissed off. It was a great picture. And we thought the game was over. We start walking out, and then we realized everyone's staring at one of the big screens before you leave the gates. And we watched that debacle at the end of the game and then realized it was probably good that they lost because they're still sitting with the second pick. But all in all, it was good to go to an NFL game for $38.40. So I can't complain.
Sean, I know you had a question you've been dying to tell and ask Chris over the past couple weeks. Lay it on him, brother.
Yeah. So, Chris, I've never been a bigger Giants fan than I am right now.
Okay.
Because
everything good. Everything good with you mentally? I just want to make sure before we proceed.
I'm good everywhere other than my football mentality. But that I'm used to that because I'm a Raiders fan.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah. I'm used to that. You gotta get used to that chaos. Anyway, what, Chris? You know your team better than anybody. What are the odds they win 2 out of the next 3 games?
Slim and none. The fact that Penix is starting for Atlanta, I think is a good thing for the Giants losing. He's got something to prove, and at this point, can anyone be worse than Kirk Cousins? Then you're gonna have another rematch with Saquon, who's gonna want to stick it to his former team, and Joe Shane. So I think those right there are 2 losses. So even if there's a miracle loss and a miracle win in 1 out of the last 3, I don't see it happening. I think this teams quit, and when you're down to Tim Boyle at quarterback, it's not a good sign either.
Okay, because if you're a Giants fan, then you're paying attention to only one other game on Sunday. Do you know what that is?
Jacksonville at Vegas.
That's right, because that's an elimination game for the bottom. Whoever wins that game cannot get the first overall pick.
Exactly. And the Jaguars almost pulled off a victory last week. I was really rooting for them.
Yeah, so was I. So I'm going to be on pins and needles along with every other Raiders fan this Sunday. And I never thought I'd say that, Chris, with 2 wins at the end of the year. But here we are. Just your overall gut feeling, Chris, if the Giants have the number 1 pick, who do you think they will take? Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward?
So I heard someone say something recently that's interesting. I don't think after the crap Shane pulled with Saquon that he will allow John Mara will allow Joe Shane to pick Shedeur Sanders. I don't think he wants anything to do with Dion. I don't think he wants a circus that surrounds it. That's just my gut feeling, but I don't know. And the other thing too is like this is the main question where I really can't answer it. Will Shane even be around to make that pick? Who knows? If the banners keep flying over the stadium, we may have a house cleaning. But I thought it was telling that Belichick, who probably if he was going to take an NFL job, the Giants would have been one of the teams on the list, clearly got the smoke signal that the job's not open. He's also had Daboll on his staff in New England previously. So I don't know. Maybe he knows something we don't, or maybe he just doesn't want to go through a rebuild with the Giants. So it's hard to say. I mean, everyone's like, oh, the Giants are going to get Cam Ward. Shane was scouting him. He was scouting Sanders. He's scouting everyone. Who knows? I don't know at this point. A lot changes between January and April. So I really don't know. But I'll tell you this. It was a bad year to be sitting with the second pick, because if they had done it this April, they would have had Jaden Daniels like they wanted if you watch Hard Knocks.
Is DeVito out, though? Is he out? Because I thought he had the concussion. Am I wrong on that
Yeah,
one?
he's got a concussion, but I haven't even seen if he's out this week. I'm guessing he is if they want to keep tanking. Not that DeVito's any better, but why put the poor guy through it again when you can find a better
Because it's the Giants.
Dolphin quarterback to lose? Who knows? It's a hot mess.
Well, considering that, Chris, so what the free agent situation as well? You got Simmons, Ojabaye, the other kid in the backfield. Like, is this going to? Do you really see a house cleaning coming? Like stripping just down to the studs?
I don't know. I really don't know because I don't know what John Mara's thinking. Because look at the coaches that they paraded through before Dable, and then they let Gettleman have numerous runs at higher.
Oh yeah, he gave Joe Judge that vote of confidence and then fired him 3 weeks later.
Yeah, he did it too with Ben McAdoo once upon a time. So I don't know. I used to think it was like the Jerry Jones vote of confidence is what John Mara's known for now, apparently.
Joe, did you have any thoughts? This past weekend wasn't a good one in the Battle of Pennsylvania for you, but did you have any thoughts on that or anything for Chris before we get underway?
No.
Okay.
What do you mean? The Giants are so interesting. What do you mean, Joe?
Steelers haven't beat Philly since 1965. I marked this as a loss, and it's looking like it's probably going to be a loss on Saturday. If Mahomes doesn't play next week for Christmas, the Steelers might have a chance to win that. But this could be a make or break week here for the Steelers in terms of seeding, because if they don't get a third seed in this thing, they're likely going to play the Bills or the Chiefs, depending on how that all plays out. And if that happens, we're going to see another one and done, which is going to be very frustrating.
So with that, it is, of course,
as far as the Giants are concerned.
Okay.
Sorry. The Maras are not your typical crappy ownership. I don't know what's going on over there. Maybe it's just bad luck. Maybe it's just things haven't broken their way. They're not Woody Johnson. It's just, I don't know what's going on with the Giants. I really don't. I don't know if they need a quarterback like any team that struggles right now. And until they get that quarterback, this is going to be likely the scenario. And it's like that for the Raiders. It's like that for the Browns. It's going to be everybody, man. The NFL is a quarterback league, and if you don't get a quarterback that knows what the hell they're doing, one little thing that goes left or right, it's over for you. You're all of a sudden only winning 4 or 5 games. I
gotta be honest with you. I envy Giants fans this year. At least they had Daniel Jones and Tommy Cutlets. I had Garner, booger eating Minshew as a quarterback this year.
You mean mincemeat? Gardner mincemeat, right?
Who got benched 3 separate times, and finally had to give up the ghost when he broke his collarbone.
Now you get the Riddler, Desmond Ridder.
Oh, God, Chris. I remember Andrew Walter.
I saw him live. He was terrible. Chris.
Desmond Ridder is not an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
Indeed, JY, it is fantasy football playoff time. It is Inside Sports Fantasy Football. It is Joe Soro, aka Ox1947, Magic Man Sean Rice, and Chris Lardieri coming right back at you here along with me, Joe Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. It is week 16. Got ahead of myself. NFL week 16 on the docket for it, and we're going to have a lot to say about what's going on with the matchups here later on in the show, but coming off a very exciting in some ways, except for the game that I watched, which was a total trash fest. Again, thank God for free tickets. I will say that the Bills are really lighting things up. Josh Allen, he is saving my Yahoo League. In fact, our playoffs start this weekend, Chris, and I can thank Josh Allen for a big part of that. Your thoughts? Is he the MVP with the performances in the past 2 weeks, as far as not just from a fantasy perspective, but as far as overall, is he the NFL MVP at this point in time, Chris?
Absolutely. And we have to pat ourselves on the back. I don't remember what week it was, but we had that episode where we said, is it time to panic on Josh Allen? And I said, no, look at the division he plays in. But I didn't even expect this in my wildest dreams. I thought he'd have a really good year at QB, but like you said, this is NFL MVP territory. So I don't think there are any contenders. I know there was a little bit of a contingency calling for Saquon Barkley, but even if he did break some sort of rushing record, he's tailed off. So I don't think he's got any competition right now.
Joe and Sean, I'll start with you, Sean, before I hit it over to Joe. I think that Josh Allen has been in the past couple weeks solidifying himself as the number one contender for NFL MVP. Yes, I know the Chiefs are still have the best record in the NFL, but they haven't been. They've been getting by opponents. They've been finding the ways to win, but they've been playing with their food a lot. And now with Mahomes out, that's obviously going to deter anybody from looking his way as far as NFL MVP. Josh Allen has had an incredible 2 weeks, and myself and other fantasy football owners that have him have been the benefactors of it.
Absolutely, Gerald. He's really cleaned up decision making and protecting the ball, especially on all three levels, from in the pocket to stepping up and when he's running. I believe he only had his first turnover in week 7, which is a testament to Allen, because even his college days at Montana, he would just usually throw it up and just live with an interception at the 5 or 10, and call it like a punt, basically. He values possessions like water in a desert. And it's really needed because the Bills' defense is on the verge of being really cut open, Gerald. If they played the wrong opponent coming up in the playoffs, that defense could get cut open like a stuck pig. So they need Allen to play at this MVP level. I mean, for God's sakes, look at that town, man. You have the Buffalo Sabres, who are going to miss the playoffs again. That's the 14th year, the 14th straight year you've missed the playoffs. That's going to be a 4-sport record. You should make a Josh Allen statue, Gerald, at the Buffalo Sabres arena, not the Bills arena, because you're saving that town from having to watch that crap with his MVP like performance. I think it's a runaway. I agree with Chris. I think Saquon's tailed off. Look, Lamar's having a really great year, but you would kind of expect that. It doesn't have the wow factor that Allen's does.
Now, Lamar Jackson, I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, Joe. I know you won't trust him when it comes to the big games, but 34 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He is having an incredible year and is actually the fantasy point leader in the clubhouse still, although Josh Allen is catching up. Your thoughts on who would the MVP be is now? Has your opinion changed after the Josh Allen past couple weeks? And I think I want to credit your team, Pittsburgh. They don't have anyone that has had the offensive kind of output at all anywhere near the fantasy scoring leaders, but yet they have been able to maintain such a high level without it.
Well, I don't know. Should I comment on this versus
Both of them.
Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson?
Yeah. I mean,
We
you've
don't want
done it
people
before.
to think certain things.
Yeah, I know. Just that's up to them. But
Lamar Jackson is an offensive juggernaut. If he's winning Offensive Player of the Year, I'm on board. Fantasy football is a different ball game. Sure, absolutely. If you can draft him in the 5th round of a draft, you're lucky. Most people will, that don't know anything about fantasy football, will draft him 3rd or 2nd. The term MVP in the NFL is I think it's a little different. It's got to be something where I have to fear that player. I fear the opponent. I fear Patrick Mahomes. I fear Josh Allen. From a Steelers standpoint, those guys seem to rock the Steelers world. Lamar Jackson can't figure out the Steelers. He just can't. So that's why my bias to some is there. It's not bias. I am not afraid of Lamar Jackson, especially in big games like the playoffs. I'm just not. He can be contained. To me, that doesn't spew MVP to me. I don't care how good he is in the regular season. He is an offensive juggernaut. If he's offensive player of the year, there's no argument there. But as far as MVP, I have to fear you. If I'm not worried about you, then there's no way you can be a MVP.
Is there a way he could be an MVP? I get that.
So Joe, would you say then that at best he's the third best quarterback in the AFC?
I'm gonna
behind Mahomes and Allen.
I'm not feeling too good about what's going on right now with Pittsburgh, and this was inevitable. This wasn't something I was surprised with. However, I'm maybe telling myself a little bit that they just can't win in Philly. But Philly exposed the Steelers for things that they've been having issues with all year anyways. They can't really defend elite teams. And that's always been Tomlin's issue the last decade. He can't really play against elite teams. He's not a good enough coach. His time management is horrible. His usage of timeouts are horrible. His ability to call flags on, the red flags on plays is horrible. He's not a good coach. He's an average coach that's been put on a stage that I can't figure out why. And I've watched every Mike Tomlin coached game. He's not good. He's average. And the reason why he continues to win is because there's a culture in Pittsburgh that supersedes the coach sometimes. It's just there. Tomlin became the coach in 2007. And before then, they had Bill Cowher, and they had one, I think maybe two losing seasons. I think that was it. 2 losing seasons in 15 years there. They only had one 5-win season in the Chuck Noll era, other than the one of 13 in his first year. The Rooneys know how to run a football team, but the issues with Mike Tomlin is he doesn't do the little things that the great coaches do, and this game is about the little things. Now, if Baltimore beats Pittsburgh and they jump the Bills as a second seed, let's say, because I don't know what's going to happen with KC yet. They could lose the next couple games without Mahomes, but I'm going to stick to the fact that they're the luckiest team I've seen in a long time. Let's say they just continue to win. If Baltimore gets the number 2 seed and wins the division, then you could probably give Lamar Jackson the MVP again.
So with that, Chris, did you have any other thing you wanted to add on to in regards to this, or?
No, I think I agree with what Joe says. I just think that, to his point, Allen's a guy you fear. And there are very few quarterbacks like that in the NFL. And I think from a fantasy perspective, as we've seen, the sheer fact that he can run in touchdowns for you, it's an underrated element in fantasy football that people forget about. I mean, I know the Lamars and the Jalen Hurts of the world get credit for it, but I don't think Allen's gotten enough over the years, just what a dual threat he is.
So with that, before we get to our picks and, of course, a trip to the Woof 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 Doghouse, Sean, let me ask you this.
I have a question, guys.
Oh, go ahead.
Little left field here, but I just had a feeling on this. Sean, this is the kind of question I like to ask Sean. Usually we get a kick out of it, and we end up talking about it for like an hour. So let's say Sanders' boy doesn't get drafted first. Whoever it is, Raiders, Giants, whatever. Let's say the Raiders get the first pick. They get Cam Ward. Let's just say that happens. And if word is that Mr. Mara doesn't want to deal with the circus of the Sanders crew, they decide to go get Hunter second. Okay. Now, when you look at what's left, let's say the Panthers and the Jaguars are 3 and 4. Now, it's likely that the Patriots are going to be in there, and they'll probably get Sanders. But let's just say hypothetically or let's just say for discussion purposes, let's say Patriots win the next few games and they end up getting like the 5th pick. What what does the Jacksonville Jaguars do if they have, let's say, the 4th or the 3rd pick? Something to ponder. Something to Christian ponder. Think about that one. Because now, if let's say they feel like, holy shit, this guy dropped the 3 and we're having problems, do they trade Mr. No Miss Trevor Lawrence to the Raiders? If the Raiders get Hunter or something, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe they don't get Cam Ward. Maybe they get the 2nd pick. I don't know. But it's going to be a very interesting draft. I think this is going to be one of the more interesting drafts that I can remember in terms of the fact that you have 3 players that are going to be coming out that are not quarterbacks that actually could go number 1, that are actually better. Usually there's always that one guy that's the better football player. We have 3. We have 3 this year in Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and Mason Graham. Those 3, in my opinion, are better than Cam and Sanders. I might be wrong, but to me, that's those guys going to the right teams. That team is going to go up. I mean, way up. Hunter going to Carolina. Oh my God. If that happens, Carolina is going to, they're going to get a lot of help there, man. That's somebody they really, really need over there.
So I want to ask you this, and Sean, I'll start off with you again. It is Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Again, I'm playing in 2 different leagues, in Chris's league, in Yahoo, and ESPN another. I'm in the midst of playoffs in both, but ESPN started theirs a week earlier because with the matchups, Magic Man, they go on a 2-week basis. So I'm essentially playing the same team 2 weeks in a row, and the combined score, whatever that be, they'll calculate it over the course of 2 games. That's how ESPN does it. Then you go to the Yahoo side, which starts its playoffs this weekend, as both Chris and I made it as the 3rd and 4th place teams. And that's just a traditional week by week until you get a champion on that one. So with that said, I want to hear you guys' thoughts on who's been doing this better as far as structuring out. ESPN, which is the larger entity, Yahoo, which is a large entity in and of itself. But which do you like more, the 2-week basis as far as the same, the 2-game basis, or do you like the one-off with the single elimination each time out, Sean?
I'm a single elimination myself. That's what I would prefer, Gerald.
Okay. I kind of agree with you on that one. It just is kind of weird because, again, I'm still playing the same team. I only got like an 18-point lead on them at ESPN, so we'll have to see how that goes for this weekend. But Chris, before I bring it back to Joe on that, your thoughts on how they structure it differently? I know they want to just try to. They're the 2 big entities out there in free fantasy football, so structuring it differently to make them stand out is obviously something they were going for, Chris.
Yeah, I agree with Sean. I like it better that way. This isn't the UEFA Champions League where, got aggregate and golden goals and things like that. But also, too, like I'm in a Yahoo league. It's 12 teams, 6 make it. For top 2 get a bye. I lost this week. I'm out. Well, shame on me. I guess I would benefit if I played the same team twice, but that's just the way it is. And then, 2, I'm a traditionalist where I think no one plays the last week of the season because everyone benches their guys. So 16 and 17 are always fantasy football playoff weeks in my book.
Joe, I don't know which services you use, but I was explaining to you right now, ESPN and Yahoo, their differences in how they handle the playoffs. How does your leagues that you're in handle the playoffs, and do you have a preference one or the other?
Well, I'm out of both my leagues because I had some of the worst luck I think I've ever had in fantasy football. I had the week before the regular season was over, I had 2 more points than the leader of the league.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I got scored on by more than anybody in the league at that point. But as far as how it works, I'm on the NFL and the ESPN, so it's pretty basic what they use. I think the only difference between the two is in the NFL version, I get points deducted for missed field goals.
Mhm.
ESPN doesn't do that, and then everything else is pretty much standard procedure.
Do you
Except
like the 2-week scenario with the playoffs and how ESPN does it?
as far as getting a bye.
No, I'm competing against the same team for 2 weeks in a row.
Oh,
Whatever
yeah,
they
that
can rank-
happened. Yeah, I that happened years ago. I didn't mind it because it kind of gives you a second week in case you have a bad week by sheer luck. It kind of helps you. It's kind of like a 5-game series, a 7-game series versus a one and done.
Mhm.
I didn't mind it. The problem was the person I played. For some reason, this league, it's my family's league. I don't know what it is with this league, but the 2 times I've played, everybody keeps getting 180, 190 on me. I'm getting 150, 160, and I'm losing 180 to 160, 160 to 150 every other fucking week. Like I was so fucking pissed. And the games that I did lose that were normal, I lost by 4 points. Drafting Christian McCaffrey in that league destroyed my whole year. I've never had a draft ruin me. If I had just picked Robinson, even though he didn't do much this year either, if I had just picked Robinson, I would have won 3 more games this year and I would have been in the playoffs.
Yeah, he didn't do much last night, that's for sure.
Yeah, I just, again, I don't mind it because, again, I think you get a shot at, in case you hit a dud at the worst time, you got another week to make up for it. So I would support it. But most of the leagues I've been in are always one and done.
Okay. With that, if you guys have any opinions out there on that, please let us know which you like better, the way Yahoo approaches it or the way ESPN approaches it. We'd love to hear your thoughts. isfantasyfootball@yahoo.com, or just hit us up in the comments right there on YouTube. So before we head on out, it is week 16 in the NFL. Truly appreciate having you here. Sports Baby, what's up? Cannot thank you for enough for stopping by, but it is week 16, guys. Week 16 in the NFL. A lot of interesting matchups. Again, I mentioned earlier, the league is repositioning 3 games to be in a bigger spotlight. So it means 3 games are getting delisted because of their value and importance. But before we get to our underdogs in the doghouse of the week, Sean, is there any games that you are going to be keeping a keen eye on this weekend?
Absolutely. When you look at the Cardinals-Panthers game, that one's really, really significant. Arizona can do themselves a lot of big favors by winning that game. And if they lose, Gerald, they could kiss it goodbye.
They're 7-7 right now.
Yeah, even in the NFC West, though. You're a game behind Seattle. I think you're tied with the Rams. So you really need to win that game.
Chris, any games stand out to you as far as this weekend in the NFL?
Yeah, Philly at Washington, not only an NFC's grudge match, playoff ramifications on the line, but from a fantasy perspective, Hurts and Saquon. I'm sure a lot of teams that are in the playoffs own these guys. For me, selfishly, I've got Jaden Daniels. I'd like to see what Terry McLaurin can do, and hoping for a shootout, although, Washington's kind of been sputtering here the last few weeks. But, with these NFC East games, all bets are off. So all I can ask for is a nice shootout, and then everyone will be happy.
Joe, your Steelers, they are at the Ravens on Saturday. They are a 6 to 6.5 point underdog wherever you can get it. Your thoughts on the game? Do you think the Steelers have a chance?
They have a chance. They always have a chance against the Ravens. But I think short week, TJ Watt being a little injured, even if he plays in Baltimore, it's going to be a tough task. If they obviously win it, they win the division, then they're kind of set a little bit division-wise, but they have to play the Chiefs in 5 days. Go fuck yourself, Roger Goodell, and everybody, anything that made you who you are. for these stupid fucking schedules, you piece of shit asshole who say you care about player health, but now you're going to add another game to the season, and now guys are going to end up playing 50 fucking games a year, and they're not going to make it.
Four games in 17 days.
Seriously, it's
Don't
forget the Netflix games.
And it's never going to go away. These owners are greedy pieces of shit, and these stupid fucking players are asshole morons that sit there and bitch and whine, yet they still want their money. Again, I had to get that out. I'm sorry, but I'm just so sick and tired.
That's what we're here for.
I'm so tired of these hypocritical pieces of shit. I fucking hate hypocrites. Like, it's
Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman, for one.
I'm so tired of these guys talking bullshit, and no one says anything. And I don't have a big enough form to say anything. One day, God help them, I'm gonna fucking go off, and hopefully I don't know, it won't do anything, but it'll make me feel good. But
Magic, the mustache.
You know, look at the Lions. Look what's going on with the Lions. Montgomery just got jacked. He's now out. They're falling apart here physically.
Gerald and Joe and Chris, get your opinion on that. The Lions, as a fantasy, if you own a lot of their players, it's not looking good.
No.
Yeah, so I have Goff. He had a huge week, so I think if you have him, you got to play him. We also have in the league I play with Gerald. We've got Gibbs. That's good news for him, I guess. But look, this team is going to be like they're on the verge of blowing the 1 seed when everyone had it written off that they were going to host the NFC Championship this year. Foregone conclusion. So at least they got something to play for, your Lions players. I hope you don't have the Lions defense in any of your leagues.
Oh God, would you guys expect that to be the last Sunday nighter? It's likely for the division, right? The Lions and the Vikings.
Yeah, there's that. I know if the Seahawks can miraculously, wake up, maybe Rams Seahawks becomes a game, but it's looking less and less like that and more like the NFC North showdown.
So with that, Joe, any final games before we head to the doghouse on that stand out to you outside, of course, the Steelers? Some intriguing matchups that I'll note probably when it comes to the doghouse. Any thoughts on any games that stand out to you?
There's the 2 games that are on Saturday are going to be intriguing. Chiefs and the Texans with Carson Wentz is playing, right?
Last I heard he was.
Yeah.
Mahomes has been lifted as doubtful.
The high ankle sprain.
Okay, and so that those 2 Saturday games are actually not bad. After that, you really don't have much other than the Eagles-Washington game, but that doesn't really play into that particular game. It's more just Eagles, are they going to jump the Lions? But the Lions are playing the Bears, and I just don't think the Lions are going to lose to the Bears, even though they're having some issues with some health. The most intriguing game, to throw a little monkey wrench in this, is the battle of the high picks. Who is going to win between Jacksonville and the Raiders? Who's going to want to lose more so they can get? I'm really looking forward to seeing what Jacksonville does. How are they going to decide on what they're going to get here in this draft?
I'm thanking God I don't have to have free tickets for that game. That's all I'll say. One mess, Joe, was quite enough for me for now. Thank you. That's going to be.
If they stick Jack Jones on Brian Thomas Jr., we're going to be good. I feel good about the Raiders' chances.
Under on how many balls will be thrown out of bounds, guys, in that game?
40.
And those are just the inaccurate passes.
Yes. So with that,
it's a pretty bad product, wouldn't you say, guys? At this point,
yes.
Aren't we having this discussion every week about how horrible these games are?
This league is a bad product. I mean, you even look at, like you said, with the Chiefs being so dominant, which they're really not. Like I was telling Dom, like this has just been a boring year, and like sometimes I'm just, what am I even going to watch? Like, sometimes I just sit it out and I have it on in the background because the games are so bad. Like, it's really pathetic when the Jets Jaguars game was more entertaining than anything else. I know that, Bills Lions is a marquee game, but for all intents and purposes, the Bills were in control there. The Lions got back into it, but it wasn't like it was ever really that intriguing other than, Campbell calling for an onside kick with 12 minutes left.
So with
Let's not
that,
forget about the Vikings, guys. If let's say
Yes.
Philly loses
good point.
and the Lions lose, if they beat, what was it, Seattle?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sam Darnold to the rescue in Minnesota.
He is lining himself up a big paycheck indeed.
Is he going to stay in Minnesota, or are they going to throw JJ in there next year? I don't know if I would do that.
We will
I
find
don't know
out.
if McCarthy's going to be the guy. I've not been really happy with the quarterbacks this year, anyways. Bo Nix is surprised, though. I will admit I didn't think he was going to play as well. But a lot of times you got to wait to play this out a little bit. You can't just judge it on. They made C.J. Stroud look like Dan Marino last year. I'm like, relax.
Oh, they wanted to put RG3 in the Hall of Fame after his rookie year.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And who wanted to trade RG3 after he won Rookie of the Year?
I believe that was
Mike Shanahan.
Was it Mike Shanahan?
Yeah, he was a coach then.
Yeah, Mike Shanahan wanted to trade him, and Dan Snyder thought he was nuts.
How'd that one work out? So with that, it is Inside Sports Fantasy Football. But before we head out, we take a look outside. Snow is starting to fall down across the areas around the country and in Canada. But you got to go ahead and step outside, take a look around. You see the dog, kind of cold over there, freezing. Bowl of water now frozen as well. The food that you left aside for the dog is now crunchy and just like icicles. So we head on out because it's that time of the day. We head on over to the doghouse. Woof, woof, woof. The doghouse once again. Guys, some interesting thoughts. I don't know if you want to include the Chiefs game because of their situation at quarterback on it. I mean, they are still listed as a favorite. So if you guys use that, I'll respect your judgment on that. I know here in Vegas, I think they're good. Some places might even pulled the odds off or pulled it down because of what's going on with Mahomes.
I saw it as -2.5 at one point for Houston, Gerald.
It is -2.5 for the Chiefs as well. So I've seen it various places, all dependent on exactly the health and the high ankle sprain for Mahomes. But guys, it is what it is out there for this week 16, the NFL. I'll start with you first, Sean. Woof, woof, woof. Who do you have in the doghouse?
Okay, so this is interesting, and I've kind of alluded to it already. I'm taking the Panthers at home against the Cardinals. You're a Mountain West team coming off a home game, traveling to the East Coast for an early game.
Nice.
The Panthers have been playing better offensively the past month. I think it's -4.5, Gerald. I think
it's 4 to 4.5. Yeah,
that's way too much. That's way too much, especially for a 7-7 team coming into your barn. I think the Panthers are a good pick for a dog this week.
Joe, who are you feeling for
that's
an underdog?
That's my pick as well, Panthers.
Anybody else that you have in mind?
I mean, you could say maybe the Bears could sneak an upset over the Lions with what's going on with them.
Especially after what happened on Thanksgiving. The Bears might really want that game.
Okay. All right. Chris, any thoughts on who you have as an underdog this weekend?
Yeah, there were two home dogs I was looking at, the Commanders and the Seahawks. It looks like Geno's going to play. It looks like Kenneth Walker might play, which selfishly I've got him in fantasy. I really could use him in the playoffs, Gerald. I want to face you again in the championship game, but we'll see.
I want to get there first. That's all I want to do is just get there.
I have faith in you. That second place team is a fraud. You can beat them.
Oh, now you kissed it goodbye for me. I'll just say,
no, I jinxed my team enough. I can't jinx yours anymore. So it looks like it's going to be a typical Seattle climate, 40s, rainy. if Smith and Walker play, I see in 2 spots in Vegas, they're getting 3.5 at home. I know Minnesota's on a roll, but this just smells to me like one of those games that'll just go sideways. Everyone's high on the Vikings, everyone's down on the Seahawks, and watch them pull off the upset. But again, I always like that extra hook as insurance. So half-heartedly, let's take the Seahawks plus 3.5 in Seattle.
I just don't know how much more I can count on Josh Allen to have 40 to 50-point games. I think that's rough. If I need that to win, Chris, I'm setting myself up for failure. I'm just.
But here's the thing: you've got some guys slacking on your bench. Tell them to get at it. That Josh is carrying the team. If we get 30 from him, we're happy. Someone's got to make up that 10-point deficit. So you need a really good speech before the game on Sunday.
All right. So with that, I think I'm going to make something a little bit easier at home. The Chargers. I'm going to go with the Broncos. They're 2.5-point favorites. The Chargers are at home. Chargers come limping in after a terrible performance, and the Broncos. I think Joe and I agree. We both underestimated Bo Nix. I think that he has performed better. Do I think he's going to be a great quarterback in this league? I'm still kind of like on the fence. Aren't you, Joe? Bo Nix. What we've seen, I've liked so far, but I don't know if I can commit to it per se.
No, but Sean Payton is his coach, and Sean Payton is a more aggressive Andy Reid, offensive genius for sure. You can say that about him. And Bo Nix has the temperament to handle the abuse. He's got that kind of mentality. So it's going to come down to, is Bo Nix going to be in that video room? Is he going to be there in the offseason? Is he going to be there in the weight room? Is he going to constantly try to be better game in, game out, day in, day out? There's not a lot of those guys in the NFL right now. There aren't any really like Mannings and Drew Breeses and Ben Roethlisbergers and Tom.
It's a lot of 9-to-5s, Joe.
Yeah, a lot of 9-to-5s, and then you got a couple sprinkles there with Mahomes and the Allens and the Lamar Jacksons. But you're not, and even at that point, like the other than Mahomes, none of those guys have really proven anything yet. And I know it's unfair to say that because you have to win a Super Bowl in this sport to be that guy. You have to, that's what you have to do.
I think Jaden Daniels would go a long way if you want a playoff game.
Yeah. Jury's still out on everybody, really, other than the 3 that I told you. Everyone's still kind of, okay, we'll wait and see how this goes. But if there was a year where a good quarterback, not a great one, can win a championship, this is the year.
So, Magic Man, you got the Raiders in the point. You're favored. I don't know how you could actually lay a favorite on this game, but I guess because they're playing it in Las Vegas, they get the point.
It's only because Vegas refuses to do pick'ems anymore, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah,
They hate pick'ems. They just take it off the board, Chris.
Yep.
They just take it off
Well,
the board.
it was off earlier today when I looked, which made me laugh. So there you go.
Desmond Ridder is your quarterback. You'd be Vegas will be lucky if they score 12 points next week.
He was awful.
And Gerald.
I saw it live too.
And Gerald, it wasn't just him. 2 block punts, not 1. 2 block punts and a blocked extra point on
and don't forget the safety. You're forgetting the safety.
That I'm not forgetting the safety. You just Gerald, you wanted to dig that right in there.
Well, no, because you actually reminded me of the second punt block because I forgot about there were 2. There was just so many special teams faux pas on the Raiders' end, my friend. I lost track and I lost.
Gerald,
maybe I was
when you're the goddamn gunner, you just have one job. When the ball is snapped, there's a space in between the center and the 2 guards. Stand in the middle. Don't stand on one side. Don't stand on the other. Stand in the middle. And what does 39 do? No, I'm just gonna stand on one side. Okay.
It's where they miss Bisaccia. See?
Yes, Chris.
Special
we do
teams
miss,
guru.
We do miss Rich Bisaccia.
Who is telling, or nobody is telling the punt as far as for the safety? He kept on catching the ball inside the 10-yard line. Why?
Why? Let it go.
Why?
Just let it go.
He's inside the 5, catching it for a fair catch. Why? You know your team sucks. You know that only puts your team even more powerful giving up a safety. I couldn't believe he was doing it. Although I will say that one where they got flagged for the roughing the quarterback, he's in the air. What do you expect him to do? Just like stop and just like hover and just not end up hitting the quarterback? He's in the air already. He can't stop. Yeah, that was crazy.
The rules need serious tweaking as well. There was a big Gerald. There was a big difference between something like that and something what happened in the Texan Jaguar game.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was just terrible. I mean, okay, the Raiders, yeah, but people were so mad at the refs after that one because what is he supposed to do? He's flying in the air already before the pass is even thrown.
I've seen a lot of horrible Raider teams, Gerald. This is the third worst I've ever watched.
Oh man, this is okay. This is
2005 was the worst, and
Okay.
unfortunately, we ended up with Robert Gallery as our prized possession, not draft.
Joe's like squinting at that one.
And this is number 2. 2007 was.
That was 04, Sean.
Yeah, I'm talking about the 05 draft, though.
Oh, so Robert Gallery was in the 04, so he wasn't in 05, I see.
Just bad memories.
Memories. Yeah.
Well, they could have used Big Ben in 04. They had him.
You just gotta drive. You just gotta drive that.
That would have
just gotta drive that.
I think Al Davis would have lived another 10 years if he had drafted Big Ben.
Joe's taken one of those corkscrews you open wine with and just slammed it right into my head.
It's not just Raider fans. I still cannot understand what the fuck the Cleveland Browns were thinking. I thought for sure. Oh, Miami of Ohio kid, I thought for sure that Cleveland was going to get him at 8. When he didn't go to Cleveland at 8, I'm like, we're going to get a quarterback.
at least all my daughter wanted was to see a touchdown. And thank God they did that at the very end. So
there you go. Okay.
All right. And with that, it is Inside Sports Fantasy Football. If you have any questions for us, isfantasyfootball@yahoo.com or leave it in the comments below. Wishing you guys and everyone out there, you guys and gals who are playing fantasy football, it is the playoffs. So, Chris, I wish you the best of luck this weekend since you've already cursed me on mine.
Thank you.
Sorry, that was 6. My mistake, not 8, 6.
Okay. Fair enough. Danny says my Cowboys magical miracle playoffs for my Cowboys Commanders lose 3 games. Rams, yes. It's all in the playoff mix as far as for real and for fantasy football. So here's wishing your team the best of luck this weekend. Again, if you have any questions for us, isfantasyfootball@yahoo.com. But we'll be back next week with more Inside Sports Fantasy Football. I'm not sure when we're going to do it, but probably because of Christmas holiday, we'll have to do it a little bit earlier in the week to go ahead and make sure we get it in there for you. But
we got to get them in before those Netflix games, Gerald.
Yes, you know it. Joe loves
Wednesday
those Netflix
football,
games,
and not because of COVID.
Yeah, I know that's the reaction. He hates this. Roger Goodell, that was for you.
You know who else hates it is CBS. Just lost how many games between Thursday night and the Saturday NFL games at NFL Network games that they just poached from CBS. I mean, what are they paying billions of dollars for?
Well, look what's going
Tony
on.
Romo, yeah.
Paramount and CBS having money troubles trying to figure out who's owning that company. Netflix just rolls right on in and pays the cash.
Gerald, isn't that funny with South Park talking about how they're not owned by Disney yet? That could happen in a matter of months.
That could happen in a matter of months. The irony indeed.
But CBS?
Well, if the Paramount breaks up, Disney has been rumored to be a potential buyer. You know,
So
there's a
there'll
lot
be
of
3 networks again only.
Yeah, pretty much.
pretty
So
much.
CBS will be gone.
Well, no, they'll keep the CBS branding.
They'll have it, but it'll just all be under
Yeah, like
Disney.
I mean, 'cause-
WWF owning WCW, and they're doing this stupid, dumbass SmackDown versus Monday Night Raw.
Well, CBS. Remember, CBS is still the leader on broadcast ratings. Non-NFL.
I hope they all choke
side.
on their
Yeah.
food. All of them.
And on that note,
I hope they all choke on a cock. How about that?
It'll be caviar.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe
I
a
hate them
coal in
all.
the stocking. There you go. Coal in the
Choke
stocking.
on that money, choke on that bull, whatever it is that
Choke on those
shitting on.
Balenciaga socks.
Good one, Magic. Good one, Magic. Indeed. It is Chris Lardieri, Sean, Magic Man Grice, and Joe Soro. Thanks again for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow for more Lakers Fast Break. And next week, coming up for you right here on Inside Sports Fantasy Football.